What's going on, Guardians, and welcome back. Today, we're diving into one of the most broken hunter builds that I have ever seen. I knew this was going to be a great build about a month ago when I made a short just before the release of the Edge of Fate, featuring a very similar build. But after recent stat changes, this thing has gone from strong to straight up busted. So in today's video, we're breaking it all down. Subclass, loadout, exotic choices, the gameplay loop, and how exactly you should be playing it to maximize your damage and survivability. So let's get into it. We're starting off with Prismatic Hunter using Shadow Shot Deadfall. This lets us tether targets, weaken bosses, and kill a ton of adds with ease. Now for the abilities, this is where things start to get spicy. In your melee, you have two options. If you want to maximize damage, go with Combination Blow, stacking up to 3 times, giving you health back on kills, as well as refunding class ability energy. It's great for lower end content, or if you're good at keeping the stacks rolling. But for high activities, I personally recommend using Threaded Spike. You're going to sacrifice a bit of damage but gain survivability and sever, reducing your damage output from enemies by 40%. In harder content, to me, survivability wins and Threaded Spike is the play. For Grenade, you're gonna want to be going with Grapple Grenade. We're running Grapple Grenade because it's both grenade damage as well as a powered melee damage, so it benefits from both stats as well as both buffs. Now, let's talk aspects. First up, we're going with Ascension to give us Amplified for that 15% reduction to damage, as well as Stylus Executioner, which will make us go invisible when defeating debuff targets. Plus, the next melee while we're invisible will apply Weaken. Basically, you grapple. As you're invisible, you punch and you're going to deal insane damage. Plus, when you kill targets that are affected by Ascension and Jolted, you're also going to go invisible. Let's break down the fragments starting with Facet of Sacrifice. This will give us plus 10 to our grenade stat as well as bonus Transcendence energy when we defeat targets when we have a Arc, Solar, or a Void buff. Now, Facet of Purpose is there for more survivability, giving us an overshield every time we pick up an Orb of Power. Then there's Facet of Protection, which will give us plus 10 to our melee stat, 15% reduction to damage when we're surrounded, which will jump up to 32% when you're in Transcendence. Lastly, we've got Facet of Courage, another 10% to our grenade stat, as well as increasing ability damage to targets afflicted with a darkness debuff. More damage, higher stats in our grenades, you cannot go wrong with it. Now let's move on to the loadout and our exotic of choice. Your exotic weapon of choice here is Bastion, and this thing got a little bit of a rework. Now with its perk Saint's Fist, it does last longer, and hitting all pellets, or most of all pellets, is going to increase your melee damage, as well as speed up the charge time. But here's the kicker, grapple melee counts both not just as your grenade damage, but as well as your melee damage. So we're basically just stacking buff on buff here. Pairing Bastion with a Strand Machine Gun, because we're using Spirit of Verity in our class item, which will not only boost your grenade regen, but when you get defeats with a weapon matching your grenade, it is going to drastically increase the damage of your grenade ability, which will count with our grapple melee as well. For the other slot in your class item, it's not necessary that you have one particular. I'm using Spirit of Foe Tracer and I've tried Spirit of Dragon. If I had to choose one to actually have, I would go with Spirit of Immol's Light, just giving us a higher uptime on our abilities. But I can't seem to ever find something that has Spirit of Immol's Light paired with the second perk that I want. So we're going with Foe Tracer as well as Dragon, depending on what we really feel like. But Spirit of Verity is the most important one that you want to have. As for your primary, that's a lot more flexible, but I do recommend something with subclass verbs like Destabilizing Rounds, Repulsor Brace, Incandescent, basically something to help aid in your survivability, but also to proc your Stylus Executioner. I'm opting to go with Reckless Oracle with Repulsor Destabilizing, making targets volatile, giving us an overshield, as well as proccing our invisibility. Now, you could also run something with Solar that has Heal Clip and Incandescent, also going to provide you survivability with Heal Clip, and then defeating targets that are scorched from Incandescent will also make you invisible, just giving you a higher uptime on the most damage possible out of your grapple grenade. Now for the artifact mods, not all of them are essential to have, but there are a few that take this build to the next level. First up is Shield Crush. While you have Woven Mail Frost Armor or a Void Overshield, your melee will recharge faster as well as do more damage. Plus, being Amplified or Radiant will boost grenade damage as well as your grenade regen. It's going to just synergize extremely well with both aspects of our abilities. Then there is Elemental Coalescence. It's gonna give us class ability energy when we pick up a Void Breach, then Elemental Benevolence if you're in a fire team. When you buff allies such as Amplified, it is going to also grant you class ability energy. Now let's get into stats. The most important stat that you want to be focusing on is your grenade stat. You want to get this as close to 200, if not 200, if possible. If you can't get it up to 200, you can always use grenade font mods to close the gap. For armor specific mods on our helmet, we're going with Dynamo to reduce our super cooldown, Harmonic Siphon to generate orbs with our Reckless Oracle, as well as a Strand Siphon to generate orbs with our Pro Memoria. Now for the arms, more grenade stats, as well as a grenade and a melee font just to get our stats as high as possible. Remember, when you have an orb of power, your melee or grenade, any font in general, is going to give you plus 20 stats while you have that font mod active. We want to get those as high as possible. For the chest piece, again, we have on a grenade mod as well as charged up because this is going to give us an extra armor charge slot. Then any type of resistance mod that match the activity that you're doing. For legs, we're going with Invigoration for our melee cooldown, Absolution for all ability cooldowns when we pick up an Orb of Power, and since Recuperation got absolutely gutted, we're opting to go with Better Already for health regen. Now, for the class item, Powerful Attraction to pick up any orb within 12 meters when we dodge or use our Ascension, then Time Dilation to keep our armor charges lasting longer. You could also opt to go with Reaper here to create an Orb of Power after you use your class ability, and lastly is Bomber to cut down our grenade cooldown when we use that class ability. So how is this all going to come together? We want to build into our armor charges by generating Orbs of Power, stack up Verity by getting kills with our Pro Memoria, then hitting a tether on a boss or another high value target. Now, if you shoot the boss or high value target with Bastion that has an enemy tethered to it, it will kill the enemy that's tethered, proccing Saint's Fist, making you go invisible. Then you grapple melee onto the target and just watch their health bar deteriorate so fast. We're going to be chaining Invisibility, Overshields, Sever, Weaken, and of course all of those damage buffs all at once in dungeons, raids, solo ops, any type of content you want to take this into. This build is a monster. To get the most out of the DPS setup, all you have to do is kill an enemy with your threaded spike, shoot the boss with Bastion, and grapple onto the Tangle, hit the boss, and just rinse and repeat. So there is no need for Navigator to make this build shine. So there you have it, Guardians, an absolutely broken Prismatic Hunter build that brings together damage, invisibility, survivability, and some pretty good ability uptime. It's fast, it's insanely strong, and hell, dare I say, it is also stylish. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button, drop a comment below if you've tried this build or if you have a twist of it of your own. And of course, subscribe if you are new. As always, thank you so much for coming and watching, and I will catch you in the next one.